Alright, so it's been quite a while since I've done any videos. Yeah, I don't know if I'll really be doing stuff super regularly, but essentially I have mood shifts where I'm kind of into sort of gaming and just doing stuff on my computer. And I don't really feel like doing this sort of thing, making videos that 20 people are going to watch, and then I'm going to lose like 20 subscribers randomly, even though I'm actively publishing stuff, because YouTube is like that, and that's fun, and algorithm bullshit and all that sort of thing. But also just I'm not in the mood for working on projects and things like this. Um, this was a massive, huge overhaul to my printer, and I'm really happy with it right now. I've still got quite a bit of work to do, but essentially, basically, I got some nice custom CNC parts from PCBWay, left and right sides of the gantry, the mount for my dual extruder, a couple little brackets for the linear or for the Z screws. And we're gonna go into that a little bit. But after I got it together, I did a nice big long print, and it fucked and it broke one of my hot end. It snapped one of my heat breaks and bent the other one massively, and this whole thing was just packed full of blue fucking filament. It was just a complete mess. It took me hours to deal with. It was such a nightmare, and I just left this thing apart for like months. Um, the other thing I did is I sort of did a nice big organization where I basically had lots of parts and stuff all in different sort of cheap, shitty, sort of shallow storage things. Um, and it was just years of that, and it made stuff really hard to find. Even though I kind of knew where everything was, it just didn't help with workflow. It really sucked, and so this was just an investment of quite a bit of money into buying new bins and stuff and sorting this out. And this was a whole sort of psychological thing I had to I had to be in the right mood for, on and off. And it's been sort of a very slow progressing sort of battle to organize everything, but I'm pretty happy with it. As happy as I can be when I'm chronically depressed. But it's a lot better than it was. I also got like a tool box. There we go. I got a sort of two-level toolbox. I kind of had the original bottom version first, but it was just like 4 or 5 years old. I didn't have enough drawers to organize stuff in, so I basically threw out a whole bunch of stuff, swapped some of the drawers between the old one and the new one that I bought, and then made labels for everything and organized everything nicely. And that's been a really nice workflow improvement thing. Just, having stuff in its place makes doing things easier. It is like 5 a.m. and I've been up for way too long, so. I also set up a new. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it. I set up a new mount for my workbench to mount my camera up with a nice quick release plate. My workbench has been something where it kind of, again, because I didn't have much space, it kind of got piled up stuff on it like way worse than it is right now. And also mounting this cinema camera to it was not an easy thing to do. So I made a really nice mount that I want to make a video on too. And that just means I have a really nice, solid, repeatable mount to put this stupid, heavy fucking camera on. And I also have like a nice way to monitor it now with a tablet and an external USB HDMI capture card. So it's gonna make doing workbench videos like that a lot less barrier to entry. Where I was trying to mount this thing up with Magic Arms before and it was super annoying. So that's gonna be really nice. I've got videos and some other stuff I plan on making soon as well. I have a 3D scanner on the way, which I'm tempering my expectations on because I don't want to overhype myself. There's been it's going to be its own fairly talky thing, but I'm hoping it turns out really nicely. But the main focus of this video is the printer. So I'm actually, I guess I should mention too, I'm running this little Raspberry tablet from Sunfounder, the Raspad 3. It has a Raspberry Pi 4B something in it. And it's really nice. Like when this workbench is clean and I'm just running this tablet and this printer, and I'm planning on having power and USB from this come out of a single connector in the back, sort of thing, like a bulkhead connector. it's going to make this really nice to run. But it's a really nice user interface. It's a really nice and slick, clean thing compared to how it was before. And yeah, so as for the printer, I've done a lot of upgrades on it. I still have sort of the original ANET structure on it, but I've now swapped out all my stepper motors to to E3D high tech or high torque stepper motors, really nice high quality ones. The linear rail conversion on X and Y as well. I've got a Big Tree Tech Octopus Pro in here with TMC 2209 drivers, and that means I also have knockoff Highwind rails. So that means I get weird noise that I want to replace these with proper Highwind rails at some point, but I can also do independent Z leveling. So I can basically do gantry leveling, level the printer out properly. I still want to put this on linear rails, design a new bed mount on it, and hopefully lower it down a little bit so I can get a little more Z height. But I've been running this thing at like sort of 100 to 120 millimeters a second print speeds, and I'm getting some really fucking nice results out of it. And I still haven't even replaced this with a better tensioner and tightened the belt up properly and done more input shaping. And this thing just rips. I also switched to the Big Tree Tech Micro Probe for homing, and it seems a little quirky. It seems a little quirky sometimes. I think I might just have a defective unit. But yeah, it's been really nice to get back into 3D printing and take a product from, like, take a design from concept and just being able to quickly rapid prototype and essentially get a usable part. Something that would be good enough to sell out of it. This is actually an adapter for my other little lens here. My Rokinon 10mm, and this goes on, and it's going to secure with grub screws with nylon tips, using little threaded metal inserts, and it's going to basically let me use a 95 or 114mm matte box on this, which means I can put filters, I can put protective elements if I want to car mount this thing. This is really nice, and if we take a look at the print quality on it, like at 100mm a second on a bed slinger. There's a little bit of weirdness because of the y-axis still, but this thing is really nice. And yeah, aside from the shitty linear rails, I mean, this thing runs really nice at high speed, way better than it ever has before. So I think I'm running it at 3500 Axel, and 200mm a second move speed, and then, yeah, 100 to 120 print speeds, except for, like, top layers and some other stuff which slow down for quality. Yeah, you can see when it moves faster, it doesn't get that weird resonance sound. It's just at this one sort of speed. So I don't know if it's resonance. I don't know if it is because of the shitty cheap bearings. Probably a little bit of both. So yeah, once that's done, let's go ahead and take a look at some more of the changes I made to it. Because it's not quite done yet, but it's very close, and I'm really enjoying it. So one really huge, nice quality of life thing I did is I split up all of these 20 some odd connections to my hot end into terminal blocks here. I didn't bother doing the filament runout sensors because that's easy enough and there's enough length. And the X stepper is still just kind of dangling there. I need to properly get some drag chain on that, but that's pretty low priority. But yeah, so basically as of right now, all of these connections from the hot end go into this linear rail, or into these terminal blocks, and then just come down on one big connection into the whole big basement. Having sort of a big basement for the design to enclose everything in, and have sort of isolated sections was one of the main goals. And it's worked out really nice. It makes working on this thing really enjoyable, really simple. Just being able to unplug all my connections up here without having to dig onto the machine or move it around or anything. And like swapping out wires and stuff, I basically had to extend the length of some of them or just make improvements of them and, put proper actual like JST SM connectors on them. Being able to do that all up here and not have to fuck around with any of the stuff that is set and solid in the basement is really nice. If you are building a printer, it is going to be like bulky, even with like a connector like covering thing here. I would say do this. It's really enjoyable. It just makes working on it so much nicer. Um, and then yeah, for the actual connections, for the Z screws, you can see here I have this L bracket essentially that mounts the linear rails and the motor on this side. Same one on the other side mounts a tensioner. And then I basically just have a little L bracket that connects to, right now I'm using an acetal lead screw. And that is just a nice, really rigid connection. But of course, the whole thing rides up and down on linear rails. And I do want a linear rail convert the bed as well. Just so that I have linear rails on everything, honestly, kind of. But also, I want to make a new bed mount and see if I can scooch this down maybe a smidge lower. That way I can get a little more Z height. It's not going to be much. But another one of the goals with this is that I would extend how far my x-axis can travel. So I can actually come out fully past the end of my bed, get both nozzles out either side, which means I can get like a bigger spring steel plate or set up like a little nozzle cleaning thing, and I can bring it out on either side as far as I want to. Before, I was a little bit inbound on each side, so I couldn't use. Alright, and so here we go. So you can see that I've actually gone ahead and upgraded all my stepper motors to E3D high torque ones. Another part of this, like this was a fairly expensive conversion, but it was sort of piecemeal, a bit at a time, so it was more affordable. I would love to get something like a Prusa XL with a 5-tool changer head, but that's, you know, $3,500 US or something, which is, it's like a shitload of money, and that's something I couldn't really afford. So I bought parts here and there as I was going, essentially, you know, and sort of just did some janky mounts for the stepper motors down here just to get them lined up with the Z screws. I still have a nice quality Meanwell power supply. I've got a couple solid state relays, and the plan essentially is, with the sort of 3-chamber construction, is I want sort of high voltage stuff, control electronics, and then on the left side I'm going to have a chamber heater. I've actually got the heater that I'm going to use for this. I just haven't put it together yet because I've only had this thing running again for about a week. And yeah, I just forgot how nice it is to get into 3D printing and also have it work so well compared to various issues that I've had before. So the idea is that this section will be somewhat enclosed and insulated, and I'll build an enclosure that goes over the whole case. It's going to still have to come out past the ends, front and back a bit, because this is still a bed slinger. Doing a Core XY conversion is just something I wasn't gonna deal with. So the idea is that I can basically have a heated chamber in here and then control electronics here that are going to be cooled off separately with fans that sort of pull front to back or something like that. Bed wiring, I still need to optimize it a little bit here. Add some more terminal blocks elsewhere just because it's a little short here. But you can see that I really took my time with wiring. I made custom length stepper wiring with like nice high quality 4-conductor cables. You know, everything has proper crimps on it and everything. And it's just really nice to work on. And again, I have the majority of everything going to that big terminal block, so I don't even need to fuck with most of this stuff if something does go wrong. And then with the Octopus Pro, I have more CNC fan outputs, so I can have the fans that cool off the stepper drivers and stuff only turn on when it's printing. I can have my hot end cooling fan turn on based on hot end temperature. Before, I just had an Arduino Pro Mini sort of doing that based on when it saw heaters active. Doing the Octopus Pro just let me simplify this again. Like I didn't need the extra sort of circuitry that I did. I got rid of like 3 or 4 extra little boards that I no longer needed. Switching to the Octopus Pro from the SKR 1.3. And then, yeah, so you can see I just have cables sort of running around inside the frame. This whole thing is going to get enclosed with metal at some point. I'm going to have a little bulkhead fitting sort of down here where the USB-C will route down, as well as power. I'm going to have a DC to DC converter. That way I can power this tablet right off the printer and just have a couple connections between this and the printer plugs in. It's going to be even nicer to use, but as it is right now, yeah, this thing is great. Still tweaks and stuff to be made. Interestingly, even after all this work, my weird issue where the bed sort of dips in the middle for my bed level, it's still present, but Clipper introduced axis skew compensation, and that seems to have worked really well from a couple tests that I did quickly. I still need to do some more, but I don't know if that's... I don't know what the cause of that is. It's really annoying that after putting all the money into linear rail convert and the custom CNC parts, that I still have that weird dip, but maybe that is just an issue with the bed for machining it or something, although I think we had checked that. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically sort of what I've been up to, aside from work and other shit, and just dealing with life in general. I will hopefully be having sort of quite a bit of, or at least some enjoyable content for the 20 people that are going to watch this. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's what I've been up to. So, yeah, hopefully going to get some more workbench sort of stuff done now that I have a nice mount for the camera and all that sort of thing. And I think one or two other projects that I have a bunch of footage for that I might just try and cut together quickly with some background music just to be sort of filler stuff. So